A lot of factors are attributed to why people are quitting their jobs, one of which is unsustainable workload. On Let's Talk this week, our focus is on unsustainable work expectations. Hello and welcome. I am Olujo Kemosaku, and my guest is Mr. Ore Afolayan, founder of Rainy Finance. As usual, I'll still remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all of our social media platforms, and enjoy the ride with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Ore Afolayan, for coming on the show. It's nice having you here.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
So, what is unrealistic work expectations?
Unrealistic work expectations are those expectations that organizations tend to expect from their employees. Oftentimes, employers tend to expect more than the organization provides. Take for example, an organization is has hired someone for a particular role. Take for example, I'm trying to use in the context of digital marketing. Someone has hired to be a social media manager, and that role entails just job description on social media. But oftentimes, you now see organizations getting that employee to do other tasks like customer service, serving as maybe personal assistant to the CEO or to the line manager. And oftentimes that's not the way it's supposed to be. So those expectations tend to cause a conflict in the long run when employers expect those expectations from the employees which they hire.
Mm. Now, first and foremost, it is understood that unrealistic workloads is one of the reasons why people quit their jobs. So, I want you to hold that thought. And even when they don't have an alternative yet, how so?
Because the country in which we live in, there's unemployment on the rise. It's oftentimes people have no alternatives to other jobs, so it makes them to stay on the job which they are not comfortable with. Oftentimes, you see brands hiring people for roles that which has not been for roles that okay, it's more than that what the capacity of that employee. But you not see those employees still staying on that job because there are no alternatives out there. And even the alternatives out there, you don't know what is in that organization, and you don't want to leave. Okay, if you're managing somewhere that okay, you feel it could be better, whereas it's something along that line, or maybe something worse too. So people are just confined at that current job that they are in because of the fear of the unknown and also the uncertainty that it could be better, it might not be better, and they don't want to miss out on something they could actually manage in the long run.
Looking at the rate, now let's look at Nigeria as an example, like you were saying. Nigeria, of course, I believe people say there are no jobs out there, but there are still people getting jobs.
Oftentimes, people tend to be comfortable with the current skills they have. With a world like ours that is currently evolving, we have new technologies, we have artificial intelligence, we have new skills that are championing the way a new way of work. But people are just content with okay what they've actually learned maybe a few years ago, and they feel that that is enough. Whereas that is not enough. So people who are upskilling themselves day by day, week by week, month by month, people are getting not just new certificates, but they are also having new skills to do the work better. They will actually get these new roles. However, someone who has been stuck with the years of okay, I've learned this and that person, you don't expect such person to climb up the career ladder. The person will be fixated at that current stage that the person. So it's not a case of there are no jobs. There are actually jobs, yes. But are you equipped enough for such jobs? That's the question people should actually answer. So employers don't want to just hire people for hiring sake. Oh, this person is my nephew. This person is my niece. I should get no. Are you skilled enough for such job or for such new jobs for such new development in the workforce? Are you equipped enough, or are you just content with what you've learned and you feel okay you have that years of experience? No, you don't have that years of experience. You are just on that particular skill set, on that particular job role for a number of years, whereas you have not empowered yourself mentally, but you have actually not done better for yourself. You have not equipped yourself. Your personal development is still at that down stage. So there's a need for you to upskill, for you to say, okay, I want to I'm not getting these jobs. No, there are jobs out there, but are you well equipped for such jobs? That's the question we should actually answer as individuals and as brands.
So are you then saying it's not about who you know, it's about what you know, how equipped you are?
Well, this is actually a function of both clauses, or let me say those phrases. It's about now. Have you known what you should know
Mm.
before you now say, okay? Then there's need for me to now know someone. So if you've not known enough, why then will someone get you into the workforce? What have you known? What have you known in the context of 2022? What have you known in the context of the world to come? So working, you cannot work on connections on LinkedIn, you cannot work on getting to meet people, you cannot work on trying to be better. So when you've actually done that, when you've actually work on yourself, then who now comes into the place. You know people and you just want to get a job. No, no. What do you know? How what role do you hope to fulfill in that organization? So when you've actually solved the problem of what you know, then who can now come to fore.
Now, please explain in detail how unrealistic work expectations affects both the employer and the employee.
For the employee, such things tend to affect the employee in terms of, now the employee will be experiencing burnout. Burnout in terms of, okay, this is what my mind has been configured to come and do at this organization. Okay, maybe or through my employment letter. Whereas I'm now doing more than what I was prepared my mind for. I prepared my mind for. So such situations, such what tends to happen is the fact that, okay, the person will be the person will just be frustrated at the job. Let me use that, frustrated at the job, because that is not what the person has his mind prepared for. And the employee side, what will happen is the fact that, okay, if you have disgruntled and you have frustrated employees, it will actually affect the whole productivity of the workforce as a whole, because now there's this employee that is frustrated, this one is disgruntled, this one is just winging it at work. What will definitely happen is the fact that when all these collective efforts, effort in quotes, when all these collective efforts come into play, you don't get the productivity that the company is actually expected to produce to get the desired output it wants in the long run. So it affects both parties significantly. There's this person that is just winging it just for the payday. The person is not really happy at work. And for the employer side, you don't have that maximal output you're supposed to get from your collective employees, because this one just giving 50%, this one's giving 30%, this one is giving 100% today, is 0% tomorrow. When everything comes together, it's actually a bad one in the long run.
Now, what does an employer really want in looking when searching for someone to work with?
Okay, an employer is actually looking for an high performer. An high performer can cut across different industries. It's not just about your competence alone. It's about how your competence come into play, how your emotional intelligence come into play, how your initiative come into play. So all these things collectively adds up to make you an high performer or a low performer. So if you are someone is proactive, if you are someone who can just take the bull by the horn, if you are someone who don't need to be micromanaged, if you are someone who can just take action when you need to take action, you are an high performer in the long run, because that way an employer will want you in their business. However, if you are just someone who's just okay, competent, but you are often forced to do a work or a task rather, you are not an high performer. The tendency that you will not be able to climb the career ladder easily. So if you're not a high performer, you will not get opportunity for jobs. Then your lack of opportunity for jobs will lead you to have a stunted career growth, basically.
Okay, let's quickly look at work ethics on both ends. And that means I mean employer and employee. How do we juxtapose this?
Organizations have their own, defined work ethics. Some organizations prioritize competence. Some organizations prioritize, they have this order of preference. Some organizations prioritize, meeting your deadlines. So now, when the organizations are set up the ethics that guides the organization, It's now left for the for the management and the employees to to have a balance to ensure that okay, this work ethics, these are what define the organization, these are those things you these one, two, three things you actually prioritize. So if those work ethics are not really set out, it will be difficult. An employee that feels that oh, I'm actually um I'm actually doing my basic tasks every other day, so I'm actually an high performer. Whereas the employer is not actually on this particular situation. This particular employer is not prioritizing. Okay, you just doing the basics. The employer wants you to think out of the box, come up with initiatives, and that will help the company to not just do the basics, not just stay afloat, but also disrupt and maybe be a big player in their industry. Whereas you are not doing what the employer is expecting, you feel like you are performing. Whereas to an employer, you are not really performing, or you are feeling you're just doing like eye service. The employer wants you to do more than that. So if those work ethics are not really spelled out, there will be that conflict in the communication. There will be that conflict in deliverables, and it will affect the productivity of both parties in the long run.
Thank you so much for that. Let's quickly go on this break and we will be right back. Stay with us. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on DNT Work. And I've been speaking with Mr. Ore Afolayan, founder Revenue from Finance. And the topic has been unrealistic work expectations. Of course, we've actually said so much, but you can still enjoy the rest of the show and go back to watch it again. So thank you so much, Mr. Ore, for standing by.
Thank you very much too.
Now, why do employers have unrealistic expectations? Or, before you answer that question, could you please outline what unrealistic expectations are in place of, or what are those things that we could see as, oh no, this is actually not possible? Why is this person draining me this much? So people might just be that wicked.
Oftentimes, it's the fact that okay, some things are not spelled out. Oftentimes, employers just hire people into the workforce and they expect them to um, just follow what maybe their colleagues are doing. But there is a need for employers to actually spell out what are those things that really that this organization prioritizes. What are those things that that this organization place a significance on. So if those things are not spelled out, there's this conflict. There's this lacuna that exists between the employer and the employee. So when those are not spelled out, it will affect the productivity of the both parties in the long run. That's often what happens because when you look at it, really, an employer will feel that okay, I'm performing, I'm doing actually my basic tasks. Whereas to the employer, you're not doing what the employer feels that okay, this is what I expect of you. So that lack of communication will affect because it's that lack of communication that will lead to so many things like okay, you being maybe being lazy at work, you being just being passive at work, you just doing your monotonous tasks, and if that's enough, you being taking extra hours during break. So those are those things that will really lead to in the long run because when you don't spell out all those things, it will affect in the long run. So there's a need for employers to really really spell out. When you spell out, when there's that communication, it could be written, it could be periodic. Notes or memo that we passed out maybe weekly basis, things that people should adhere to. So if you don't spell out all those things, it will affect in the long run, basically.
Perhaps they are being spelled out because we know that as soon as you get a job, they give you work description. I mean, job description. Now, in this description, you have been told this is what you will do. But as soon as you get on the field of play, the tune starts changing. There are additions to what you don't know initially, and you're expected to do the job. Now, take for instance, companies, young companies, you employed someone as maybe an engineer, or a maintenance officer, and you didn't tell the maintenance officer that as soon as you get on the job, you also do the job of a cleaner because you do not want to pay an extra hand. You decided to employ one person or two people to actually do what they are employed for, and also other things that are not on the outlined, the initial thing that is being given to them. How so? What do you say about this? Is this not part of? Would I say is this not part of unrealistic work expectations?
All right. I like the illustration you gave. Well, in that illustration, it's actually a wrong move by the organization, basically. However, in job descriptions, there's usually a one liner that comes maybe after those basic tasks have been highlighted. There's usually an other task assigned by your manager. So, but those other tasks still falls under the purview of what your work entails. Take, for example, I'll still use the context of a digital marketer because I've actually been in that space for the longest time. Someone who has been hired to be a social media manager, and now you're okay, you should just do social media management, answering replying DMs, engaging people under the posts and comments and things like that. But now your manager could actually give you a task such as okay running an ad. It might not have been spelled out on that job description. However, it still falls under the purview of social media manager, which you should actually know. But what in the cases whereby you are hired as a social media manager and you are not told to sweep the compound. You are not told to mop the ground. See that there's a conflict. So in that case, in that situation, the organization is actually wrong. But in the context whereby the other task that was not in your job description, but still falls under the purview of your work, well, I think that is good to do. That is not a job mishap. Let me use that phrase.
Okay, so we'll just call that one that having been employed as a maintenance officer, of which, of course, you're just supposed to maintain some things and then having to clean also, that's fraud, right?
That doesn't work.
Okay, now, what is the difference between daily routine and effectiveness?
Okay. Oftentimes in the workplace, people tend to just do daily routines because now you've been hired for this purpose. You just come and do your own role, and that's that. But there's a need for you, even forget the fact that you're contributing to organization for your own personal development, for that sense of I did something today, I did something, that sense of fulfillment. But many times, many people don't do that. Many people don't even love their jobs in the first place. They just do these things to pay salaries and happy to earn salaries and things like that. So effectiveness has to do with understanding that this job or this task needs more than what I'm doing. Understanding that my contribution, my out of the box contribution to this organization, helps significantly. So it's not just me doing the basic work, but I won't really solely blame the us why you doing all that I did. Whereas it's just you trying to show up. It's just you trying to do what you feel is right. Whereas your line manager is thinking that you're just doing this to to call favors. You're just doing this to appeal to the management. Whereas so people just tend to do the basic and oftentimes let's even forget eye service and likes. Oftentimes when your contributions are not recognized or they are just dismissed in a condescending manner, people just let them just do their thing. Should I'm collecting my salary and people are just leaving people to their fate. So those are those factors that tend to lead to all these things. So you can't really blame an employee for just doing their daily tasks and feel that I've done what I was paid to do, because a fault also comes from the employers, and that's what it often leads to in the long run.
Okay. Now, how can employees handle such expectations? Should an employee, tell his boss or her boss that the demands are unreasonable?
The organizations should actually be open to such dialogues. Why? Because the management or the people in the management, the manager, they're also humans. They are also people who could make unreasonable demands and that might not actually go well with the employee. So there should be that room for the organization to understand the plight of the employee because it's not the employee just making such statements. It's happening to them live. So they are reporting it. So since they're reporting it, it's something that you should, as an organization, you should, as an HR, you should, as a senior staff organization, you should, as a CEO, you should look into it and try to find the perfect balance for both, so that the senior manager or the person who's in a higher position is not feeling like, oh, this is slight on my image, and also the employee is also not feeling that, oh, my comment or my what I've been complaining about are not recognized. So there's a need for them to strike a balance um, to achieve that common ground, basically.
Mm. Now, what would be your advice to the employee and the employer as regards unrealistic work expectations?
Well, people say the workplace is not a family affair. You shouldn't just do your work and that's it. But I think there should be that human element. There should be that reason for dialogue. Um, there should be that place whereby people can talk things out. Let's even forget the formalities of the workplace. There should be that, sir, this thing can't work. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. There should be that friendly ambience for you to walk up to your line manager and say, okay, this why I cannot do this. Oh, this tax has been given. It's supposed to be for this particular person, not me. So if people can understand that we are humans and this role or this task I'm giving this person, it shouldn't be designated for this person. And also the employee can actually easily walk up to the manager that this is not for me. I think to a reasonable extent, we can actually solve all this drama. But when people just tend to do their work and like automated robot and, oh, I'm just here for business and that's it. There's that tension that exists and it will lead to people just doing the basic. I'm just here for my work and expecting my salary. Whereas there can be more. There can be I don't want to say father to daughter, uncle to, it becomes so personal. But there should be that aura of, friendliness that exists between both parties, and all this tension will actually reduce.
Thank you so much for that. It's nice having you, and it's been wonderful discussing this topic with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And to you out there, thank you too for being part of the show. In case you have too much workloads or the expectations are so high, I pray that you have the wisdom to actually settle it. Because then I was asking that question initially about having to tell your boss. Of course, it's not an easy thing. It's either it makes you or it mar you, but the confidence to actually do the right thing. So make sure you do the right thing at your workplace and be exceptional. Until next time, I come your way again. I remain Olujoke Masako. Bye for now.